Untitled Lounge in Bob's room. Hello everyone, welcome to Bob's room. This episode is our Mastro Beraldi pipe review.
Really excited about Mastro Beraldis. We've brought them in a couple of years ago, and we brought them in because they've got some really exciting shapes. It's a family company in Italy.
Not only that, but they're also our lowest priced handmaids, which is why we wanted to talk about them starting out. The history of Mastro Beraldi is actually one of the more interesting pipe histories.
Founded in 1976 by Aldo Pier Luigi. He got started by himself and gradually brought on members of the family.
Most famously his son, Andre Pierluigi.
And ramped up the company's production in that way. So there are a few hands in the shop, which allows them to increase their production speed, which allows them to drop the price a little bit.
Right. Their pipes are mainly for sale in the U.S. While they are made from fine Italian briar and they are Italian workmanship, they're typically sold in the USA. One of the things that really stands out about them is mainly their aesthetics. Don't get me wrong, we're going to get into their drilling and all that as well, but they have several different lines. But the aesthetics of all the lines are very unique to themselves.
Yeah, the look of these, if you're looking for a truly unique piece,
look no further than Mastro Beraldi.
This is your company.
So one of the key characteristics of Mastro Beraldi is the shapes. They are wild and unique and very interesting. Some of the things that I think are pretty cool about them is that if you get a Mastro Beraldi, you're not going to see anybody else with that shape. That's not going to happen.
No, can confirm.
And so he has 3 different technical lines, but I would say 4. He has his base line, which is going to be his rusticated and his typical smooths.
This is a rusticated Cavalier Umpal.
Sure.
Again, unique pipe shapes. So you've got the bowl that sits on the shank like a Cavalier, but it's got the full bend of an Umpal. It's got a little foot here, so it stands up like that right there. And the location of the bowl on this is a design feat.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah, it is. It is a success of design, no doubt. And again, it looks really awkward, but he's got places where your fingers go around it or where your hand can go around it, and it actually fits surprisingly comfortable. It doesn't have your usual black stem, so he adds some color and some creativity there.
I also like that it's a half saddle.
And it's a half saddle, right? He's got a little point on the front of it there for the half saddle.
That's typically indicative of Danish pipes, but to see it on an Italian is super cool too.
This guy's clearly drawing inspiration from everybody.
Not only that, but he also has his smooth line. And what you're going to get with a smooth line is you typically get some really unique grain, right? Like, he tends to really enjoy straight grain. You're not going to see a lot of bird's eye on his pipes, which is typical of an Italian carver.
Right.
But his shaping is just so odd. This one, it makes like a left turn from the stem into the shank. The shank then follows into the bowl, and this weird kind of mixture between a Canadian shank style, where it's that oval, and your typical rounded shank. And then it makes a right turn into the bowl. It's just your typical pot. There's nothing very exciting about it, but because of all these unique curves and turns that he takes, it makes a pipe. I've never seen a pipe like this. Yeah, there's another one.
How about the eyeball?
That is, in fact, the eyeball.
There's the pupil. You got the eyelids. It's an eyeball pipe. Bowl is oblong. It's not round, and yet fits surprisingly well in the hand. And he's got a shank extension on the end of it, which he designs for each pipe as it comes off the line.
Yes, even though he makes a lot of different pipes, and I mean they make a lot of pipes, every shank extension he individually picks out for it. One of the things that you mentioned that I definitely want to talk about was you talked about how comfortable it was in the hand, right?
Yeah.
That's one thing I've noticed that's kind of uniform with all of his pipes.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter how weird the shape is, they're almost all made to fit in the hand. And I think that's a really good factor to have with your pipe, because if your pipe's not comfortable to hold, you're not going to want to smoke it.
You're not smoking it.
No.
You're not smoking it. But the other interesting thing, you mentioned the Italians that are really driven by, not the Italians, the Danish, that are really driven by grain patterns and shaping their pipe around what the briar gives them.
Mm-hmm.
Which is fine, which is good, but this is an attention to detail with the smoker in mind.
Yeah. It's for the practical smoker. Sure, you're going to get all these artistic pieces by artisan Danish carvers, or any nation for that matter. It doesn't really need to be Danish, even though I like Danish pipes the best.
And I was willing to let you have that.
I appreciate it. But, yeah, the fact that this is made for the practical smoker in mind is what I really like. Another one of his base level smooths. This one right here. Another very interesting piece, right? But once in the hand, this might be the most comfortable pipe I've ever held. And not only that, but another thing that makes this one particularly special, typically on acrylic stems, they come in these weird sort of colors that swirl through it and everything. This is, even though this has that marbled look to it, this marbled look isn't actually created through the acrylic like it is on most pipe makers. He actually uses a very interesting watercolor compound that adheres to the acrylic that gives it that marbled appearance, which is incredibly unique. His next line that's above the smooths and the roughs is what he calls his SG line, his straight grain line. And they still have unique styles, but the grain, even though his grain's really good on his smooths on the base, his grains on these ones, it's still straight, but it's incredibly tight, which means that the briar is well aged and well cured.
Yeah. Now, you can see in this one that the bands of the grain are really tight together, and the contrast in the stain is a little bit better too. But a squat Dublin is not the most typical Dublin shape, but you could actually put a label on this one.
Yeah, that one, it would be easy to describe if, I don't know, you were, say, putting them on a website that sells pipes for like a particular store that labels them.
Never heard of doing that.
Never heard of that? Okay, yeah, cool. I just wanted to make sure.
I've never done anything like that in my life.
The last line that we're going to talk about, and this is the line where you truly get to see why these were particularly made for Americans. Americans like big pipes.
Go big or go home. Go big or go home.
And I have never seen pipes this large. This is his Gigante series, and it is one of the largest that I've ever seen. The bowl chamber itself eats my whole thumb. Not an issue there, and not only that, it's still ergonomic in mind, still very large. The grain isn't terrible. It'd be hard to have good grain on a pipe this large.
Right.
This would have to be a $3,000 pipe if the grain was amazing.
Yeah.
But the grain isn't bad. In fact, he uses a lot of cross grain.
It's like a whooping stick from over here.
Have you ever thought about talking to anybody about maybe child abuse? I mean, you could talk to me. I'm not a licensed professional by any means, but like you could talk to me. It's fine.
Why did you presume that I was whooping children?
Maybe I need to talk to my therapist. Maybe that's the thing. But yeah, the Gigante series comes in both rusticated and smooth. It doesn't just come in smooth. That being said, you do see a lot of them that are very similar to this particular one in his Gigante series. The aesthetics were the main key that we wanted to talk about. They are very unique pipes. I find that that's probably the most noticeable thing about this particular pipe maker.
I agree with you.
And that being said, still, all of these weird shapes we showed you, very comfortable in the hand. Ergonomic is his key.
Well, the other thing that's interesting about these weird shapes is knowing that they're handmade, right?
Mm-hmm. That being said, aesthetics aren't the only draw to these pipes. Mm-hmm. The mechanics are very well done for, I hesitate to use this word, but the budget handmade.
Yeah, I agree with you. There are some drilling decisions that I would question, but for the most part, the stem work is level with just about anybody.
Yeah. On his stems, it's fairly simple how they work. You know, they're completely handmade, so it has the bevel on the inside. He goes through several different drill bits to make sure that it has a tapered inside. You get less moisture content, a less turbulent smoke, all of that. I'm sure
you get fewer restrictions with it. And so because the smoke doesn't have to bounce around in there, it's a smoother draw, it's a drier draw.
And to ensure a good fit into the mortise, he uses a Delrin tenon. A lot of people, what they'll do is they carve a mortise into the pipe bowl itself, and then into the stem material, and then they'll create these little Delrin inserts and then hand drill them. And what that causes is a much snugger fit. And Delrin has a little bit more flex than Ebonite or Ebonite if you're German, Vulcanite if you're us, or acrylic. It has a little bit more flex, so if you drop it, you're not going to have that tenon snap off, right? And then another thing is, even though that the Delrin has a little bit more flex, something that's imperceptible is that he puts a little steel pin inside these to give them just a bit of reinforcement. So then, there again, we're talking about this guy's thinking about the practical smoker.
Yeah.
You know,
this guy's got his audience in mind as he's creating these things. And I like to see that consideration from a carver. He knows how we're going to be smoking them, because probably he's smoking them. He knows what to expect once these pipes leave his shop, and that's neat to see.
Yeah, Aldo's making pipes for the smoker. He's not making collector art pieces, even though they're wild enough shapes that they could be with nice enough grain.
Yeah.
He's still thinking about these people are going to be smoking these pipes. They're going to have them burning all the time. They may be using them in the shop. I have to think a lot of his pipes sit. A lot of his pipes sit. He's making it with the idea that this is the smoker that wants a good-looking pipe that's handmade, that's going to have that open draw that we think of with handmade pipes, but also that they can use.
Right.
And you know, up until we did this review, I had never thought about that. I'd always, when I was talking and selling these pipes to people, you know, I would say all of these components to to the customer. Hey, this one is a wild shape. It's unique for you. You can have it. Hey, you know, he's got these reinforced shanks with Delrin tenons. It's going to take care of it. It's super comfortable in the hand. You're always going to want to hold it. And I never put it together in my head up until this review that he's thinking of the practical smoker.
Yeah, he's thinking about, you know who he's thinking about? He's thinking about the retailers. He's actually thinking about guys who are moving around tobacco shops trying to sell stuff.
Yeah.
With a pipe in their mouth.
We're talking about why these are good for the practical smoker when we haven't even mentioned their pricing. I said that they were budget handmade pipes, and I don't like to use the word budget because that's, that seems to indicate that it's lower quality, but these aren't lower quality.
Yeah, it implies that they've cut some corners and ducked some things, so you're probably going to have some technical issues and some breakages and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I would not expect that from these pipes.
No, his pipes sit in what you would expect expensive machine maids to sit at.
Right.
You know, how many Savinellis do you know that cost more than that? How many Petersons do you know that cost more than that aren't going to smoke near as good?
Near as good.
Sure, it's not going to have it's not drilled as well as, an Il Chepo or a Costello or anything like that. It's not going to be that well drilled. I mean, they put a lot of work into that, but
you're not paying Costello prices.
Exactly, it's not $500.
Right.
And if you drop it, it's less likely to break than a Costello.
There's also a fair point. Yeah, you're less likely to have the wear and tear issues on these guys that you might expect to have on some others.
Yeah. These are the working man's pipes, the working man's handmaids.
I completely agree with you.
It's considered less refined to use Delrin tenons. Like high-end carvers, they poo-poo on the Delrin tenon. But truth be told, they fit more snug, they have more flex, they're better for it. It's just not as classy.
Yeah.
And I get it.
I can understand that, absolutely.
So on a scale of 1 to 4.
1 to 4.
Rate me on aesthetics for it.
Purely aesthetics, I'm going to give it a 3.5. They're amazing shapes, and he's got solid grain. The stem colors are fantastic. They're a little out in left field. But for creativity and design, yeah.
I'm going to say 2.8 on aesthetics, simply because the shaping is a little bit wild for me. I tend to like a little bit more traditional pipes, even though I like Danish pipes. They're just a little too wild, but as far as like grain components go, if I was rating just the grain, I'd give it 4 stars. But I'm going to say 2.8 just because the shapes are a little wild for me. Now, rate the drilling. 1 to 4.
2.8. I don't want to give him a whole 3. One of my problems, I smoke a lot of bent pipes, as y'all know, and one of the things that some carvers do with bent pipes is they have a draft trough. They give this extra little divot in the back of the bowl so that they can get the airflow kind of right. My problem with that is as soon as you've smoked it a few times, that trough cakes up, and now you're back to ground zero. So he does that, which I'm not a fan of. However, his work on the stems, I would give 4 marks to. So stem work minus bowl work, 2.8, almost 3.
There you go. I agree wholeheartedly with that one. And then last up, pricing per quality. Like 4. You have to go 4 on that, right?
My only hesitation with 4 is Northern Briar. But that's more expensive. So
I think for the quality that you get here, I don't think there's a better price pipe.
3.7? 3.8.
3.8, nice. Yeah, for me, I have to give it a 4 because I can't, for the price.
For the price.
I cannot think of a better pipe. You know, and for an overall ranking, these are 3 pipe. This is an easy 3.
Yeah. 3.5. Yeah, easy.
I'm sure these ratings are subject to change as we start reviewing more pipes and we think about this more. But
sure they are.
I give this one a solid 3.
All right, cool. I'll join you in the 3 category. 3 seems pretty solid.
It seems fair.
Yeah, it does. I like 3.
So that's been this episode of Bob's Room. We did the Mastro Beraldi pipe review. We're going to be doing more pipe reviews and tobacco reviews, but this has been fantastic.
Thanks for joining us, guys. We look forward to seeing you real soon.